We are previewing Week 16 in the NFL here at SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We're talking with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. We're going to tackle the Colts-Dolphins game right now. Joe Duffy, this is an ugly matchup, right? The Dolphins are just, oh my God, they're in shambles. They're 1-7 ATS over their last 8 and just not getting it done. They've got some injuries on the offensive line now that might leave them, completely decimated on offense and ineffective on offense. Not that they were that great to begin with. So things aren't looking good for Miami. They're 1.5-point home favorite right now over the Colts. But the Colts, they've lost 3 in a row against the spread. They were all by big margins. 2 of them were by huge margins. Hasselbeck is starting, and he's like banged up. He's 40 years old. It's just ugliness all around. I'm thinking maybe we take a shot with the under 44, although I can see it sneaking over. I guess maybe under would be the best way to play it as of right now. What do you think about this one, Joe?
Well, Peter, great minds think alike, even a continent apart. That's pretty much my analysis and pretty much my conclusion that, obviously the Colts, look, they got a little bit of a boost from Hasselbeck, but he's taken a beating behind a so-so offensive line. I think he's physically and mentally beaten up. There's still a possibility Charlie Whitehurst could play. In fact, even if he doesn't start, I'd be surprised if Whitehurst doesn't come into the game before the game's out. And then in the case of the Dolphins, as you said, look, Mike Pouncey, he's their best offensive lineman. He's going to be out. Maybe they really need to just go into the offseason and yet again, this is kind of a yearly tradition, have a disappointing, year, and then they go in the offseason with a bunch of high hopes. But I don't think it's like they can really have much of a building block with Tannehill, et cetera, in the next 2 games, especially behind a ravaged offensive line. Wouldn't be surprised if both of these teams use much of the play clock, and that's really the key. More than, as I always say, offensive and defensive competence, but neither one of these teams are very competent offensively, and I think there aren't going to be a lot of snaps in this game, so we pretty much agree.
All right, are you going to go official with the under 44?
We'll go official with the under 44.
All right, what about this? T.Y. Hilton for the Colts. He's been kind of unhappy about the offensive play calling for the Colts. Now, obviously, Hasselbeck aside, he did say, this is a quote from Hilton, "This is the one game that I can't lose, especially with all the uncles and aunts who are Dolphins fans." This is, he's from Florida. He has a lot of relatives there. He's coming in. He says this is one game he can't lose. Do we maybe like the Colts plus 1.5 because of that?
I don't know necessarily about that. I'm glad he's got his priorities straight. He's not really all that concerned about the fact that the team's not going to go to the playoffs. A lot of people had them as a Super Bowl contender at the beginning of the year, but now he wants to make sure that he wins this game. I remember him when he was in college down there in Florida, and yeah, he was a heck of a player, but still, maybe I can kind of understand, since it is a meaningless game, how they would call his number a little bit more, but as far as it really having a major effect on the side, I don't really think so.
All right, under 44 is Joe Duffy's play here, and Joe Duffy at OffshoreInsiders.com. Tell us how you're doing right now.
OffshoreInsiders.com, we have a phenomenal bowl season ahead of you. We've got a bunch of wise guy plays for one. If you watch us on Christmas Eve, we got one going Christmas Eve, plenty after Christmas. Hold on, just visit OffshoreInsiders.com. We'll give you all the details.
Thanks, Joe.